We know people have better health outcomes with more education. We know there's higher job satisfaction. You can look at the difference between who's been laid off and who hasn't been laid off in this current economy. You can look at access to benefits. You can look at who volunteers and who votes in a community and compare that with education attainment. And then this idea that, and I remember too, a young person I worked with was her mentor for a while in one of those programs where you're matched up with a young person who was pregnant. One of the things she said to me is, I don't want to have a 10th grade education for my child. You know, like she was going to try to figure out a way to persist, and she actually did go to Harvard too. You know, so it's just this great thing. So she and her baby went to Harvard. But at 10th grade, she wasn't prepared for that. She went to a community college first and then transferred later. And then when we're working with bringing in partners to this work, and we'll send you as the PowerPoint later, so you don't have to take notes on all of this. Some of it's right in your packet too. But it's important to think about who loses when college isn't possible, and to convince communities and convince your industry partners and convince everyone, this is about the quality of a life for all of us. And there's some really wonderful examples from around the country of places where they're doing this really well. There's places in Texas, there's places in Ohio where a community-wide approach to increase the number of young people who graduate from college, no matter where they're starting, and increase college access, because it increases the quality of life for us all. And they just, you know, there's lots of statistics on this, but it has to do with income tax base, voter turnout, the same kinds of things we've seen before. If in California, we have so many prisons. You know, we have, and it costs over $50,000 a year to keep a prisoner in prison. Prison guards are also paid more than teachers. And because it is about education, that the average person who's in prison has a 4th grade education. And then what this does to increase all our social service costs. It really is true that who goes to college, who goes to community colleges? It's much, much higher percentage. I mean, it's over 80% are lower income families that go to community colleges, where upper middle class, it's very low percent that go on to community colleges. They usually go to 4-year, and it also has to do with who graduates. So this is part of what we're trying to change. And then the world has changed. Like, our young people today are competing in a global society, and all those things like access to technology literacy, all those things are so important to be successful later. And you know a lot of these statistics. I'm not going to do them all out loud, but this idea that of students who actually start, when several of you talked about the persistence in college, that's huge. A lot of young people get in, but because they're not well prepared, then they're taking these remedial classes, and it just takes them so long, and any financial aid runs out. And so how do we prepare them? And part of the whole thing about college and career preparation is if students, young people, have some real skills, then they can get jobs that pay them more so they can work part-time and afford to do it. And again, I'm not going to read all of these out loud. You can look at this. But this last one, like nationwide, less than 1% of youth accurately know the curriculum requirements for college. In surveys they do of students in school. Think about the young people who aren't in school right then. And how so many people think they're not college material when they are. So this is just a working definition of this college and career-going culture that we're going to spend more time talking about. The environment, attitudes, and behaviors in schools and communities that support and encourage students and their families, and really this should be youth and their families, to obtain the information, tools, and perspective to ensure access to and success in post-secondary education and careers. And it's a definition that comes, that 2 colleagues of mine at University of California, Berkeley worked on, but it seems to be a nice one. Like, we've played with it over the years, but it's one I think that fits for all of us, except I would change the students to youth, as you think about this work. Do you want We have a short video we're going to look at, and this is a school video, but I think it opens up a lot of things to think about. This is from Yes Prep in Texas, and this is about their college-bound culture. But think about how we do this in our communities too. This is available on the Edutopia website, edutopia.org.
Welcome all. As of today, April 27th, senior signing day, over 95% of the seniors have been accepted to at least 2 colleges and universities.
A core principle of Yes Prep is that every student will attend and succeed in college.
We have this high expectation that all kids go to college, but we don't leave it there. We kind of backwards plan from there. Here are the things that we need to do in order to make sure that kids are going to be ready.
Yes Prep's college-bound culture is built on 3 key components: an environment of expectation.
So now let me see your college list.
A college prep seminar class.
And this is the bookstore. We can take a look in there.
And college campus visits, where students experience the look and feel of a college.
Now we'll go to the gym. There's like fitness classes here.
The promise of a college education begins with a home visit and contract signing.
So the home visits are when we go through the contract with them and their parents, and we talk about this is what it means to be a student at Yes.
Good to meet you. All right.
And the contract, I think, it's symbolic. What we want parents to understand is that this has got to be a team effort. You know, this is a 3-legged stool. It's us, it's your kid, and it's you. And if we work together for the next 7 years, your kid's going to be able to go to any college they want to.
Stein under the student signature, please.
By the time the students get to 11th grade, they've been talking about college since the 6th grade. They've got homerooms that are named after colleges, and people are asking them where they want to go to college. And even though they don't really have any idea, and they shouldn't necessarily have any idea at that point, they at least know that they want to go to college, and they're all focused on that.
But you can apply as soon as possible, August through October.
Okay.
In the college prep seminar class, juniors spend a year learning how to select and apply to colleges.
It's basically a college prep 101 type class, so a lot of SAT, ACT prep. Take the students through what the admissions process will look like, focus on building their college lists. We'll talk about applications, we talk about financial aid, scholarships, so that when it becomes college application season, that they're ready to go.
Areas of study.
One of the benefits of the extended day is that we have that extra, 2 hours per day that most schools don't have. And it allows you to do something like this where the students can come in every day. And it's valuable not only for the time that they get, but also the relationships that are built between the students and the college counselors, just because it would be impossible for us to truly recommend the right schools and to put them in the right position if we didn't really get to know them.
All right, well, welcome to the University of St. Thomas, everyone.
To help students get a sense of college life, Yes takes them on field trips to a variety of campuses.
Over the course of a student's history at Yes, that student's going to see 20 to 25 schools, like actually go to the campus and be on that campus and meet students and meet professors on that campus.
What do y'all think so far?
I think I like that it's like in the center of Houston.
It's just exposure. So much of finding your fit and sort of picturing yourself on campus has to do with actually getting onto campus and being able to see for yourself. And so we're able to hold classes on a college campus and then tie that in with an information session and a tour.
Right here is the lounge.
So they can really picture themselves there and start to get a sense as to what it might be like.
And over 90% of this year's graduates are first-generation college-bound students.
Every year the seniors get together and they sign their acceptance letters to college all at one time in front of their friends and their family in a huge auditorium.
Good afternoon, my name is Diana Rivera, and this fall I will be attending Columbia University in the city of New York.
I remember signing my acceptance letter on a kitchen table, and I think maybe my mom walked by while I did.
And this fall I'll be attending Texas A&M University.
This is 100 times bigger, and it means so much to these kids. And when our kids walk across that stage and they sign those letters.
Good afternoon, my name is Nelson Mendoza, and this fall I will be attending Yale University.
It's exactly what we've been working for the past 8 years.
For more information about what works in public education, go to edutopia.org.
But just real quickly, maybe a few of you can share something that really resonated with you or really inspired you.
I think the contract signing, it made it a big deal. I know for me, I'm an avid sports fan, and I instantly thought, like, seeing one of my favorite athletes signing his big contract, like, it's a big deal. And I think they make that, and it is a big deal. It should be a big deal, and it shouldn't just be you signing in the paper in the kitchen with your mom walking by. And so I think, and we kind of thought that was really special.
Well, in both ways, like the fact that you're signing your letter of acceptance, but the other thing, going into the homes and meeting with families, supporting adult, like sometimes it's the grandmother or the auntie that you're meeting with, but this idea that there's ways to do that, and for foster kids or homeless kids, it may be that you're meeting with them and their mentor. But think about that and this idea, that idea of committing to something. Like no matter where I am, no matter where I'm starting, this is where I want to be in 3 years, or this is where I want to be in 4 years. Or the fact that they did it with the sixth graders who are 11 and 12 years old, you know, that they're coming in. Anything else that really resonated?
I think we need to use every opportunity to celebrate. To celebrate those incremental steps, to celebrate, the smaller steps as well as the big things, and that just there can't be enough recognition and celebration informally, and what I like about the formal as well. So.
And there's some things, and this will come up when we get to the elements, we can look at it again, but if you noticed in the video, everywhere there was something about college. You know what I mean? Like even though they didn't say it, and/or something about inspiration. Like in the background, you could see a sign in one of the rooms, like whatever it takes. Or there were the college pennants everywhere. In a lot of schools and communities, there'll be days that your entire staff and your organizations wear in college gear. Or if you have prizes for young people or their families to show up at an event, it's something related to college. And a lot of times you can get things for free, just by asking. That they'll send you some T-shirts, or they'll send you some sweatshirts, or they'll send you different things that people can use as part of this inspiration and journey. Anything else? Or anything on the blogs?
Comments on the blogs are echoing what we hear here. So the acceptance ceremony, or the senior signing day, is very powerful, and the collaboration with families is something people are liking.
So it's easier when it's a school. And then this is a school that has extended days, and so that's actually a role for a lot of community organizations. A lot of the schools that I work with, who runs the after-school programs, are community organizations, or the Saturday programs, or summer programs, or other things. So there's lots of ways to think about how we do this. But you have to turn it into, for your organization and the young people you're working with, how are you creating this culture? What kinds of things are you doing to create this culture? So if this is our goal, this is a big, lofty goal. This idea that young people are prepared without need for remediation. And I know we have to be cautious on that, because sometimes we might start working with a young person who's 16 or 17, who's way behind in their skills, and you're helping them get their GED, and you're helping them move on. But this idea that there's a pathway no matter where you start. I mean, I meet with the economy and all the changes. Sometimes if I'm hanging out in some place like Barnes & Noble's, I'll meet these adults who are there studying because they lost their jobs, but they're in a class I'm going to become a nurse's aide to start with, and then this is my path, like what I'm planning to do. So again, it doesn't matter where we start, but we're moving toward that we're going to know enough to be able to persist and not get stuck. This is about your educational journey, and this is also in your packet. You can look at the questions there. But what early messages, positive and negative, did you receive from family, friends, school, community, and media about your ability and your potential to go to college and succeed in high-quality careers? What were the messages? Put ourselves in the position of a young person. Think back to when we were high school age or younger. What additional messages did we receive along the way? Who or what encouraged you? And what were your barriers or challenges? So what I'd like everybody to do is just take about, I'm watching time, just take about 4 or 5 minutes just to jot some notes. Look at what are considered by the researchers the elements of college-going culture, college and career-going culture. The most important one, the one that has the biggest bang, is college talk and college and career talk. And so think about whoever you're working with, however you're working with young people right now, how can they hear more of these stories? And so whoever's coming in, like if you set up a speaker series or you do whatever you're doing to try to get more adults in students' lives, or you have an e-mentoring program for, even if it's for 3 weeks, where you line up e-mentors and students are going to work, young people are going to develop a resume or develop something that they're going to get feedback from adults on. This idea that one of the questions that they would ask the e-mentor is about how did they get to college. This is really, really important, to hear a lot of the stories. And you start saving them. There's wonderful ones online. There's a website called First in the Family that has a lot of young people's stories about going to college or about their beliefs about going to college or the barriers they encountered. But the more students, young people hear these stories, this has a great deal of power. These are the things they hold on to. You can talk to them, interview them about it later. So the same way I was talking about how in San Jose, California, they had a day where they tried to get everybody to tell their stories. Think about how you can do things like that with the young people you're working with. And then what we're going to do right now is, I want to say something about these principles. This came from the work that a professor at UCLA did, and what interested her was that there were high schools with the same demographics, but some of them did a much better job of sending more kids to college and having those young people persist. That they knew what to do. If they didn't know something, they knew how to work with other students, with peers, to form study groups, to do things like that, to be successful. And there were some schools where they just had fewer students going, and even if they got in, they didn't persist. And that included community colleges, not just the four-year colleges. And so she started to try to look at the elements of what was different about those schools. And the reason I'm using these today is because I think it's the same elements that are true for the work we do in communities, whether we're working with foster youth, whether we're working with homeless youth, whether we're working with pregnant teens, whether we're working with a range of students or we're trying to partner with schools. So this idea of college and career talk that we already talked about some, clear and high expectations, that's one of the biggest battles you're going to fight a lot in your work. This idea that some people, not you, but other people that you're working with or other people that young people encounter, very often, so many people, a friend of mine who's African-American, very successful physician, Barbara tells the story of her junior high counselor telling her when she wanted to take the science class, Barbara, you don't really need that, type thing. My own niece, who's now a pharmacist, was told by a high school counselor, oh, you don't need to, she had great grades. You don't need to take this math class. Things like that, like how do we help young people know and how do we help them persist? But this idea of high expectations, no matter where we're starting, the information and resources that they need. A lot of kids and their families don't know about the college-going process, don't know about how you get financial aid, don't know, for example, right now in California, the DREAM Act type thing is in place in California. So it's a lot easier for undocumented students to go on to college right now, but there's other avenues too. This idea of counseling and advising. You may have counselors as part of your organization, you may not, but you can be partnering with others, or you can become advisors yourself, like increase your knowledge about what's necessary to help young people go to college. And everybody should be a college and career advisor in a way. We have different levels of expertise, but we can grow our own expertise, and young people can grow their own too, and I hope I get to that today. This idea we do it with them. Testing curriculum. kids don't know if taking the PSAT, would you take in about 10th grade of high school? If you do well on the PSAT, that can help you do well. That helps colleges start contacting you. And so just helping students having testing skills. And that may or may not be part of the work that you're doing with young people, but they don't necessarily learn it in school. I see young people who don't know how to write the college essay all the time. I'm working right now with some political refugees from Colombia on writing the college essay for University of California. And they went to a class, but it was the wrong kind of essay. They started their essay like, "Dear Sir or Madam," kind of thing. And so it's helping them know and helping them know how to tell their stories. And very often it's the community-based organization who's providing some of that. It doesn't always happen in schools. It might be a one-time assignment, but they don't get much feedback on it, or they don't have an adult who's helping them tell their story. And telling their story is what makes a big difference a lot of times in this. This idea of giving young people opportunities to build up their resumes. So I worked in a project a long time ago with teenagers that were on probation and things like that. And we did a joint project with Head Start. So the teenagers were putting on skits for the 4- and 5-year-olds that were part of Head Start. But that became something that's on their resume, that they helped to coordinate this whole drama program for young children. That became something on the resume. So think about ways to get the youth you're working with involved in service learning of some kind of community projects. It has a lot to do with their own sense of power and their own sense of esteem, but it also has a great deal to do with building up their resume. When we talk about faculty and staff involvement, it really is that everybody in your organization needs to know a lot about this and be able to be part of it. And then family and community involvement. This is, sometimes the youth we're working with don't have a supporting parent, but they do have often a supporting adult. And occasionally one of you volunteers to be that person. But you can find ways to connect them with someone the same way we saw in the video where they went to the homes. A lot of it is being respectful of parents and families. One project that we've done in several communities has to do with parent university. So we even have gotten sponsorship for that sometimes, that we've tried to do it at times that are convenient for parents to do there. We've done it in English and Spanish. We've done different things. We do maybe a 4-week series about all they need to know to support young people in the college-going process. We borrow graduation caps and gowns and have a ceremony at the end of it with a keynote and give them all diplomas for having completed the parent university. But thinking about ways like that they can become partners in this, the same way that we saw they love to come and celebrate the success of a young person. So think about your benchmarks along the way, or the kinds of knowledge and skills you're trying to build up, and find ways to celebrate those that include the families. When we saw the young people in the Yes video visiting colleges, what a powerful thing it is to invite parents to be part of those visits. This idea of college and industry partnerships. Can't say enough about that. Think about who you can partner with in this work. And I know we don't have as much time today, but a lot of times you can get an industry partner to sponsor a lot of the things that you're working on. A lot of the computer training that we're doing in one community, this is in Richmond, California, is really sponsored by this retired guy from Intel, but then he gets Intel involved in sponsoring it. So we've been able to get computers, we've been able to get lots of things. I was at a party once where somebody asked me what I did, and the man just said to me, "We might be able to give you 90 computers," and it was, and every time, it used to be that every time Microsoft updated their software, a lot of computers, suddenly were obsolete, and sometimes they were still in the boxes. So you want to think about and be open to partnerships. In one community where I was working with a school called Chipman Middle School, I found a Chipman moving company that was in that community. It just happened to have the same name, not connected with the school in any way. They loved the idea of sponsoring things. So they sponsored some of these after-school programs. They sponsored things for the parents, other things. But it was just asking and and talking about how this benefits them. And that's why those statistics at the beginning are important, to think about this is about improving the quality of lives for all of us. And then this idea of articulation, and that varies depending. It may be in your cases that it's the articulation with the school. It may be the articulation between grade levels, like between elementary and middle school, between middle school and high school, and so on. Knowing what's really expected for colleges, partnering. A lot of times, if they're writing a grant, they can build you into the grant for things that they're doing. I'm going to say also important is the peers, the value of peers, and how you help to create a peer culture. Once you get a few young people who are really bought into this, they have so much influence on everyone else. One of the schools in Washington State, a young Hispanic male who was seeing that none of the Hispanics in the school were going on to college. And so he, as a young person, organized other students to form study groups and organized trainings for parents about what they needed to do. And it was, the story when I read it was he was graduating from the high school, but he had already had a succession plan. He already had other young people who were stepping into that, and they had expanded so much and grown so much, and they invited other students who were not Hispanic to be part of it. But this was a young, youth-led initiative, to really try to change this. And so I can't say enough about thinking about ways to have youth leadership and voice in what you're doing, like doing things with young people, not just to and for them. This is the biggest one, that college, and I'd say college and career, are frequently discussed, displayed as an expectation and a real option. I have a friend who was teaching in a really heavy-duty, very rough urban environment. She was a former lawyer who decided she wanted to be a teacher, and Michelle showed up in her lawyer suits and her high heels, and she urban classroom first day, but she stood at the door of her classroom every day for as long as she was teaching there, and every student who came in, she shook their hands and said, "You're going to college." And I remember somebody saying to me, a young person saying to me when they were graduating as a senior and talking about her, they said that Ms. DiStefano didn't just teach me to dream, she taught me what to dream. And that's a wonderful legacy and a wonderful thing for us to carry with us. And that same young person now is teaching in a school in Richmond, California, and is running a law academy for students to try to get them interested in law careers. So it's just a great, lovely story. But it's part of every young person's experience, and this idea of you sharing your stories and finding ways to do that in authentic ways with young people. We saw this in the video, the reinforcement of messages about this, an experience that build their confidence about college going. So those visits to the campuses, and there's lots of fun things to do. You can do a scavenger hunt there, meaning that sometimes we've given young people cameras, and they've got a list of, in small groups, they've got a list of things they have to find on the campus and take pictures of, and they have to find, and you can make it fun, and then they can report out on their experiences. But they need to visit campuses. It's really an important thing. Both the idea of going to college campuses, but also going to industry, so they see what work looks like and work that, they have a dream of where they want to go. Clear and high expectations, we've talked about this before. Help young people have a plan. You can update it. It's a great opportunity to be able to come back to it with them. It can be a plan at first for in the next 3 months, this is what I'm going to achieve. The next 6 months, this is what I'm going to achieve. But this idea that they've got that vision of where they're going. I heard one of you talking about Naviance before, or sometimes there's some online programs that have good tools for this. There's different ways. Ongoing opportunities to talk about preparation to find their goals. Information and resources. A lot of classrooms in schools that are doing a good job of developing college-going culture have college corners in each classroom, or college and career corners in each classroom. Where do you have that in your organization? When young people come to a meeting there, is there a place that they can see a lot of information and resources? If I walk in, is there going to be a place where I can pick up different brochures, and often they're in English and in Spanish, but are they there? Are you getting the resources in to make it easy for young people? Are you helping them explore things online? Are you doing workshops on any of these things? I use the example of the FAFSA. Like sometimes we have T-shirts that say, "I speak FAFSA," but things like that. But you can also help young people that you're working with become experts and be able to help their peers. Sometimes you can get parents or other supporting adults to come in and be the experts for you. But think about or partner with someone. But so many of our young people miss the opportunity because they don't know how to fill out the forms, or their families don't know, or they don't know what information they need to have together for the FAFSA. There's some communities and families that are very organized about this, others where they're behind on their taxes, and then the teenager isn't going to qualify because the parents haven't paid the taxes. So you have to think about helping people know what they need to know. We already talked a little about the test, but this availability, this is a great place to get sponsorship. What if somebody will help sponsor, and especially when you're working with foster kids or homeless kids, what if a company will help sponsor, or a local Burger King, or you write a one-page grant and you need $2,000 for the fees for students to take the test, or you get all your waivers for admissions fees, or application fees.
Yeah, most of our youth go through the high school and get it.
Sure, but there's ways to partner with the high school that's doing that, but sometimes you get little grants to help you do the other things you want to be able to do. And we talked about this some before, how you have decorations, you have special corners, you might have a wall, you might have whatever it is, but think about in your own organization, how is this really visible, this work that you're doing? Are there literacy and math experts that can work with you? Sometimes they're retired people that come in. Sometimes there's people, I've worked with faith-based communities before, where we've gotten a church to have people that have an education ministry, and they come in and work with students on their essays, like on their scholarship essays, things like that. But think about who you can partner with. I got an engineering firm in one community to work with the schools and with some community-based programs there on providing tutoring for math. So again, think about who you can partner with. All right, we talked about the family, and the one thing I would add here is sometimes if you're doing if there's a college fair available, and a lot of different groups may be sponsoring those. Sometimes the University of Oregon might be sponsoring them, or there might be different ones in a community, or if you're working with rural groups, how do you get them to see things like this? Try to invite family members too. There's spaces on the bus, they can be chaperones, but to come, I know Mesa does a good job of that. Europe has had things like that. But where are there opportunities for people to go to college fairs? And sometimes you do need to come to a bigger city, or do that. But can you partner together to have the access? In one place where we didn't have that, we got teachers in the local high school to represent the colleges that they had gone to. And we had young people help organize the fair. And we got other people in the community to come and represent the colleges they'd gone to. We had booths all around this big room. We had some door prizes that included, in this case, it was in the San Francisco Bay Area, so they got free tickets to a Raiders game. There's not always high attendance at some of them, so we got we had 400 free tickets to give away, and so it was a great thing. We had a lot more meals there than we might have, but the teachers and the students that had graduated from that particular high school, we did it near the winter holidays, so they were on winter break. They came and represented the schools that they'd gone to. One was the University of Afghanistan, but the others tended to be, the colleges here in the States. So that was a really nice way to invite students and families and also community groups. It wasn't just for the high school. It was at a high school, but it was open to everybody. This idea that we talked before about having workshops for parents sometimes in the evenings or on the weekends to learn about some of the things they need to know and how they can support. Supporting them in the belief that all students, all young people are college material, and adult mentors. If you don't have the resources, if a parent can't be easily involved, who is the adult mentor? In working with foster youth and in working with homeless youth, that idea of having an adult mentor has been really important. Again, all staff as college and career advisors. And how do you build up the knowledge of your staff about this? So what kinds of things can you do to do that? How is college and career information available to young people? We talked about some of these things, but a good way to partner sometimes is getting people involved in tutoring programs. So very often at a university, for example, there are courses that really are community-based learning kinds of courses where a young person can get credit for a course, but it is to tutor someone, or it is to work in a classroom, or it is to work with a community-based organization. You might be able to do something and partner with a local college, or even, it depends what age group you're working with, but you might partner with a local high school where there's students who come in and are getting, it's part of their service learning, it's part of their building up their resume that they're working with the youth that you're working with. As long as you provide a quality experience for people, we've done things like where we've done it with the fire department, or we've done it with all kinds of different groups, but just the idea of getting more adults involved in the lives of the youth we're working with. So think about that. And then when I said mentoring, e-mentoring can be great, especially if you start with people where you're doing it as a very short-term program. Like you're only asking people to commit to, we need e-mentors for 3 or 4 weeks, and you're going to get, if you're really interested in this is something that you could email me and I'll follow up with you on, but in one community that I've worked with, they just have a list of questions for the young person to ask the mentor on the first time, and each young person picks 3 questions to ask, and there might be one that has to do with where did you go to college and what was it like, or something like that. But the other 2 are their choice, or they can come up with another question that they get approved. And then as part of it, have something real for the mentor to help them with. And so a resume sometimes is a good place to start, like developing a resume where they're getting feedback from that other adult on it. And sometimes at the end of the mentoring relationship, you might invite people to come and see the presentation that the youth have developed about their resumes, or they might come to a celebration of this or something like that. But think about that. It's a great way to get other people involved with young people. How we do this is sometimes harder, but this seamless experience, like you may be giving young people really great messages, but it may not be true in all aspects of their life right now. And so what kinds of things are we doing to articulate more, to partner more? That message about you are going to college. Okay, this idea of youth at the center. I'm going to skip this right now, but this is a great activity to think about. A colleague actually asked you why you believe all youth need to be prepared for post-secondary education. How would you answer? And can you do it in a 1-minute elevator ride? Good thing to practice in your organization. I'm also going to skip some of this, but you'll have it. It's a little bit California-centric website because of the funder. It was from the James Irvine Foundation in California about college-going resources. But there are, when you actually get to the list of all the tools that are on here and the resources, this is kept up to date. They're from all around the country, and we really tried to address all audiences around this. So there's some really nice ideas and strategies about advancing college-going culture, whether you're in a school or in a community. And there's also all these different resources to link through to virtual college tours for young people. So you could do a project in your organization where they were going to pick 3 of the colleges to visit virtually and just have a little worksheet so that they could learn more about colleges, that they could share out with each other what they learned. So these are just a lot of nice resources. This idea of helping them learn about their transcript. If the biggest barrier to young people going on to college is the D grade, and you may be working with young people that had a D in a course, and in these financial times, it's hard to have time in school for kids to make that up. It may be that one of the biggest services you could provide is helping them find ways to make that course up. Sometimes it's through virtual school that your state accepts. Like a lot of the universities accept some of the courses through virtual high school. Sometimes it's getting sponsorship to pay those fees. Sometimes it's working with the community or a school. One of the schools I work with, the Y, runs some wonderful course-taking credit recovery opportunities after school and during the summer. Lots of ways to think about how to do that. And then one nice thing on the website is a lot of the materials are in Spanish. And so the same things are in both English and Spanish. And I'm just saying that this is a place that there's a lot of resources and a lot of glossary of terms that can be real useful. There's other wonderful websites out there, but this will lead you to a lot of them. Okay. This idea of kids have to, sometimes when we have young people who aren't yet prepared for college, everything gets watered down for them. And actually they respond more to something that's a challenge. And there's lots of research on that. There's lots of experience on that. But think about whatever you're asking young people to be doing, that there's a kind of intellectual challenge to it. That there's a sense of both rigor and relevance. And then Dave Conley here in Oregon has done some of the best work out there on what does it mean really to have college and career knowledge and skills. And that's something that I can send you some more things on follow-up on. But it isn't just about what we think of as academic skills. It really is about problem-solving, ability to work as part of a team, all those things that are really, really important to being successful in college and careers. And community-based organizations have a huge role in playing in developing those assets with young people.
Did you say that's Dave Connolly's book?
David Conley. Yeah, he's at University of Oregon. One book's called College Knowledge, and the other has to do with college and career. This idea of setting high academic and behavioral expectations and providing high caring and high support to achieve those things. This idea of a culture of excellence, like helping young people know that they did really good work, like helping them get to doing really good work and start on something that's doable, but doing that and building up their sense of pride. We talked about this before, but one of the most important things is a close connection with at least one adult. And this idea of youth leadership and voice in the work. So if you just pair and share with someone, maybe we'll end that way. And one of the last quotes on there is from this woman at the Gates Foundation, Deborah Wiles, where she said that no student has a choice until she's been accepted into college. But this is something to think about for all of us, and this is really our charge, that for young people who have only a high school diploma, most of them are going to have a life of poverty. Mm-hmm. For young people who have a high school diploma, most are going to have a life of poverty. That's not true for all, and we certainly know all the exceptions, and they need to know about those exceptions, and there are other ways. Not everybody has to go to college, but most of us do, and most of us need some kind of post-secondary education. And so no matter where the young people we're working with are starting, I've got wonderful stories about young people who were homeless, who are now nurses, and young people that are doing great things. But how we start and help them believe in themselves and know that we believe they can do it, and that there's other adults who believe they can do it. Those are probably some of the most essential things that we can do to change this. And so set some goals, like how many more young people in our communities and here in Oregon are going to be holding up their arms with that diploma and moving on and being prepared to move on and learning how to use each other to persist. Like if you can help them have that culture, because this is about culture, so that they know that they can find other people that are going to help them believe in their dreams and succeed in their dreams. That's going to be the best gift we can give them. So now that's your charge. You got Nike around here, go do it. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Back at you.